Imagine you are a man who spent his entire life lifting others upward. He gave his strength, his opportunities, everything to the people he trusted the most. But just when he was about to reach the greatest peak of his life, those same 9 empresses, for whom he had sacrificed everything, joined hands, betrayed him, and left him to die. Fate, however, granted him a second chance. He did not die. He regressed and returned to the past, and not only him, the 9 empresses also returned with all their memories. But this time, the story is not about survival. This time, the question is only one: without my help, how far can you all rise? In Chapter 1, we are shown the scene of the pinnacle located at the very top of the 9 heavens. Greenery spreads in every direction, shining mountains glow, and spiritual energy floats through the sky, raising this place to an entirely different level. The atmosphere is so calm and beautiful that it feels as if this land was never meant for ordinary humans. Near the enormous gate of a luxurious sect standing on this pinnacle, an old man announces loudly that today our 9-life venerable will prove his Tao and achieve sagehood through ascension. He declares that after attaining sagehood, he will achieve his fully deserved position within the 9 heavens. This, he says, is not only a blessing for him but for the entire sect and all its people. The old man continues that today you will witness a moment that you may never see again in your lifetime. This will be a monumental feat, and being able to watch it with your own eyes will be your greatest fortune. Then he proclaims with respect that we should welcome our heavenly venerable 9-life and begin the tribulation. As soon as he finishes speaking, the massive sect gate slowly opens, and our MC steps out with his queens. His walk, his expression, and his entire aura feels so stable and powerful that the surrounding crowd automatically falls silent. Honestly, at first glance, his presence does not feel bad at all. Rather, it creates a different kind of pressure. But some disciples standing behind, seeing the MC's grandeur, begin to whisper rude comments among themselves. Hearing this, the elders nearby immediately grow strict and scold them angrily, telling them to keep their mouths shut and learn to respect their seniors. The elders warn clearly that if this man's mind even slightly turns, his power is so terrifying that he alone can wipe out their entire clan. They remind them that in the past he fought the Yao clan alone and even annihilated the whole demon domain by himself. Hearing this, the disciples' faces turn pale and silence spreads everywhere. Meanwhile, the tribulation has fully begun. The sky roars, lightning crashes, and the entire area fills with tribulation energy. Our main character, without any hesitation, walks confidently straight toward the center of the tribulation, challenging it directly. Not for a moment does he show fear or doubt. Everyone watching is stunned. Then suddenly, from inside the tribulation, an elder figure slowly emerges. His mere presence makes the atmosphere heavier. Seeing this, even the MC is briefly surprised, because such a scene is rarely witnessed. A girl says in a trembling voice that this is Heavenly Venerable Gujing, one of the top-ranked tribulations existing for centuries. Many people grow afraid, but some elders still believe that our 9-life venerable is invincible and no tribulation can stop him. Calmly, the MC asks Gujing if they should begin the battle. Gujing, with a straight face, replies, "Start." The fight begins. Their clash is so intense that even space starts to distort. Explosions echo, lights flash, and it feels as if the sky itself will break apart. Yet strangely, the empresses behind the MC show no worry at all. Their expressions remain normal. Instead, they whisper to each other that they had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Their words carry not fear but a strange confidence. Then Gujing uses the Tao of Time. The elders become serious and explain that because of this technique, Gujing's clones will travel through multiple timelines and hunt the MC in each one. If Gujing succeeds even in a single timeline, the MC's real body here will suffer fatal damage. Tension spreads everywhere. Seeing this move, one empress's face changes strangely, and an evil aura seems to leak from her, as if her true intention can no longer stay hidden. Yet the MC remains calm and says casually that this move is indeed impressive. Then he adds that he must apologize, because in every timeline he has always been an unrivaled existence. But Gujing reveals that he has already destroyed the MC in all timelines. Laughing coldly, he mocks him for praising himself, and says he has killed him in every era. Hearing this, the MC feels as if his soul has been struck. His body trembles, his strength fades, and he collapses to the ground in severe injury, confused about how this happened. Gujing explains that although the MC's strength is extraordinary, the yin-yang Dao devouring goo had already rooted inside his body. That is why Gujing could kill him so easily in every timeline. The MC suddenly realizes the truth and slowly turns toward his empresses. He asks in a heavy voice, "Don't tell me you knew nothing about this." But the sight before him is horrifying. All the empresses burst into laughter, as if his misery is a joke. It is revealed that this goo is formless and can only be implanted through yin-yang union. Gujing says coldly that the result was clear from the start. He knew the MC valued loyalty and emotions deeply, and those same women he loved betrayed him. One empress laughs loudly and says there was never love. They only lived in terror because of his power and wanted freedom. Another reminds him of phone books and says she could have lived a normal happy life if not for him. The atmosphere completely changes. The empresses activate their powers to kill him, twisting all facts to paint themselves as victims and him as a devil. The MC's mind shatters. Rage and pain burn in his eyes. He roars that without him none of them could even touch the title of empress. He had treated them above humans, never imagining such betrayal. As he prepares to attack them, Gujing strikes from behind. The MC groans that if he must die, he will take them all with him. The empresses panic, screaming that he is detonating his cultivation base and will kill everyone. Gujing watches coldly and says defeating him while poisoned was an honorless victory. Perhaps he deserves another chance. He uses his time whirlpool and drags the MC and all 8 empresses inside, smiling that they should come to the next round together. Then Gujing unleashes the time and space reversal technique, sending the souls of the MC and the 8 empresses 50 years into the past. The scene shifts to the past. The MC, Louis, looks around in shock. Everything feels familiar yet different. In front of him stands his first empress, Chu-Ling, who in the future would become the Sword Maiden of 9 Heavens but now is only a humble servant. Her head spins from the regression. Seeing the MC, she screams in terror, calling him Devil Master and wondering if she has returned to the past. Louis smiles slightly, realizing she has also returned with memories. He thanks Gujing in his heart for the second chance. Then he calmly removes his socks. The Sword Maiden is confused. Louis extends his feet and says casually, "Wash my feet." She is stunned, yet silently begins washing them, her hands trembling. Louis thinks he could kill her now, but death is not the cruelest punishment. He will let her live, so she can experience the absolute misery of a life without him. He tells her calmly that none of this was a dream. They have truly returned to the past. She is shocked and asks, "We all?" Louis cuts her off and says everything is real. Gujing's technique brought them back, and he remembers every word she spoke that day. Her arrogance still remains and she asks, "So what now?" Louis smiles with an evil glint and says only one word, "Enough." Then he declares, "You wanted freedom, didn't you? From this moment onward, you are free." Louis stands up and opens a drawer kept nearby. From inside, he takes out a token and, showing it to the Sword Maiden, says, "Look at this carefully." "What is it?" The Sword Maiden replies with slight hesitation. This is my life tablet." The very next moment, Louis, without any expression, burns that life tablet right there. With a brief flash of fire, the tablet turns into ashes. Louis says in a cold tone, "There, you see? I have burned the contract tablet. From now on, you are completely free. Whenever you want, you can return to your true sword manner." Seeing this, the Sword Maiden becomes shocked, yet she still composes herself and speaks in a straight tone. "Louis, you had 9 lives, yet in your first life, why did you choose to self-destruct?" But Louis no longer wishes to keep any kind of relation with her. His face hardens. He turns toward her angrily and says, "Mind your own business and get lost from here." Hearing this, the Sword Maiden also begins to leave without stopping. While walking away, she says in a cold voice, "Fine. Now that we all have been reborn, I swear that this time I will give you a truly miserable end." As she walks, she thinks to herself, "Louis, I possess an innate sword body. If none of this had happened because of you, my life would have been far more glorious." Stepping outside, she says in an emotional tone, "Father, mother, brother, your daughter is finally coming back." From behind, Lewis watches her walking toward the Chu manor with such emotional steps. The same evil smile rises on his face again, and he murmurs slowly, "A father, a shameless mother, a trash brother, and this poor girl." He thinks further. "Once you return, you will understand what a true devil's cave really is. In this life, I am absolutely not going to show them any mercy. The chains of those 8 women will no longer bind me. No matter what happens, I will definitely ascend to an even higher realm." Just as the MC is about to close the door of the room, suddenly, with a loud bang, the door shatters. A long leg kicks straight inside and attacks him directly. The moment Lewis sees this, only one name echoes in his mind: Fairy Red Silk. But the next second he corrects himself. No, in this life her name is still Yu Hangling. Then we clearly see that the girl who broke the door and entered is none other than her. Filled with rage, Yu Hangling stands before the MC and shouts his name. Without thinking for even a second, she attacks him and screams, "Today I will definitely kill you!" But Lewis's strength is far beyond her level. Without using any technique, he grabs her neck with one hand, lifts her into the air, and hangs her upside down by her own leg. Yu Hangling cannot even understand how everything happened so quickly. Lewis slowly moves closer to her and says in a deadly tone, "You still dare to strike at me?" He locks her so tightly that Yu Hangling cannot even move her hands or legs. In a frightened, stammering voice she says, "W, what are you doing?" But Lewis has no intention of doing much to her. He already knows that this girl's fate ahead is not going to be special either. He says coldly, "Today you will fix my door with your own hands. And if you fail to do so, I will twist your neck and end your life right here." Even though she is completely locked, Yu Hangling still says in a trembling voice, "I refuse. If none of this had happened because of you, I would be with Foamwux right now." Hearing this, Lewis laughs lightly and replies, "Then in this life too, if you hope to find him, you will have to give your best try, won't you?" The moment she hears this, Yu Hangling's face tightens. Fear spreads through her entire body and she says while trembling, I will fix it. I will repair the door. Please let me go." But Lewis tightens his grip on her neck even more. At that moment Yu Hangling thinks in her mind, "Damn it, even after returning to the past, I am still no match for him." As soon as she completely gives up, Lewis throws her to the ground like an insect and says in a harsh voice, "Now get to work. And if I don't find this door fixed when I return, you are finished." Yu Hangling somehow gathers herself and stands up. In anger and helplessness, she shouts at the MC, "Lewis, at least in our past life we were Tao companions. How can you treat me like this?" Hearing this, Lewis's face remains emotionless. In an ice-cold tone he replies, "That was in the past. In this life, you and I are nothing to each other." Those words hit Yu Hangling like a thunderbolt. Anger, humiliation, and helplessness appear clearly on her face. She has nothing left to say, and the scene changes from here. Now we are shown a beautiful garden area. Colorful flowers bloom all around, the atmosphere is peaceful, and faint spiritual energy flows in the air. Lewis walks into this garden. Here, an extremely angelic and beautiful woman is taking care of the plants. This is Bai Xiulong. The moment Lewis steps into this place, Bai Xiulong immediately senses him. She looks forward, and Lewis respectfully greets her, calling her master. But seeing Lewis, Bai Xiulong's expression suddenly changes. She asks directly in surprise, "Why do you have only one life left now?" Hearing such a direct question from his master, Lewis hesitates for a moment. Scratching his head lightly, he says, "This disciple's skills were somewhat lacking. During a cultivation session, to force a breakthrough, I merged my 9 lives into one. That is why only one life remains now." Bai Xiulong's anger becomes visible. Looking at him sternly, she says, "I have found a way to suppress the Chaotian power. So forget the events of the past life as just a dream. We will never allow those things to happen again," she adds in a sharper voice. "And if such filthy and treacherous thoughts ever arise in your mind again, I will not hesitate for even a moment to erase your existence from this sect." Lewis replies calmly, This disciple will carve Master's teachings in his heart. Outwardly he appears obedient, but inside he laughs lightly and thinks, do you really believe you found a method? If I had not transferred the ocean poison into my own body, do you think you could ever have ascended as a Tian Empress? Here we clearly understand that Bai Tsulon was also one of the MC's empresses in the past life, now appearing as his master. The scene changes again. The MC is sitting alone on a mountain peak. Looking at the sky and the world below, he says to himself, no, my cultivation base has fallen back to the 5th stage of Qi condensation. It seems I must grind everything from zero again. Then he whispers, old friend, are you still with me? Immediately a system notification opens before him. 3 options appear: cultivation, deduction, enlightenment. A robotic voice echoes, I am here, host. What do you need? Hearing this voice, Louis feels a strange relief. Smiling lightly, he says, thank goodness, you came with me too. But wait, do you no longer need energy to operate? With a soft ding sound, the voice replies, I have now become the heavenly Tao itself. Why would I need energy? Louis nods and says, true, but as heavenly Tao, haven't you become a bit too ruthless? He complains, was it really necessary to drop the most dangerous top-tier tribulation of all eras on my head? The calm, merciless voice answers, absolutely necessary. After all, you are my host. Preparing the ultimate challenge is my duty. Louis's face falls. He says dryly, thanks a lot. Then taking a deep breath, he says, fine, let's begin cultivation. The system ignores his sarcasm and replies casually, you are welcome. Initiating the cultivation of the 9 life undying heavenly scripture. The scene shifts to the Sword Maiden. Outside the Chu Sword Manor, long stairs appear. The exhausted Sword Maiden climbs them step by step. Every stair feels like a test, yet somehow she reaches the top. Standing before the manor, she says breathlessly, Father, Mother, I have returned. Her eyes become moist, believing everything will be fine now. But the guard at the gate sees her and becomes shocked. He thinks, is this really the eldest miss? Why has she returned? He blocks her path and shouts harshly, where did this beggar crawl up from? Trash like you has no place in the Chu Sword Manor. Get lost. The Sword Maiden becomes confused and says, I am not a beggar. I am the eldest miss, Chu Ling. Seeing she does not retreat, the guard draws his sword and yells, shameless rat. How dare you disguise as the eldest miss? Suddenly Chu Ling grabs the blade with her bare hand and says emotionally, Chu Si, look at me carefully. I am Chu Ling. You used to carry me in your arms and buy me candies, remember? But the guard shakes her hand off and shouts, you don't have the blood of the Chu family. Why did you come back? Inside he panics, thinking she barely escaped that devil's den. Why return to throw herself into the grave again? Chu Ling cries that though not biological, her parents treated her as true flesh and blood. Hearing this, another guard realizes the truth and shouts, This really is the eldest miss. Chu Ling has returned. Chaos spreads in the manor. The manor lord, her so-called father, rushes out with fake concern, followed by his wife. Chu Ling runs and hugs her father, crying, Father, I am back. Her mother wipes her tears with false affection and asks where she was. Chu Ling says she was held hostage by the Great Tao sect and escaped secretly. At that moment the man arrives and seeing Chu Ling, his legs tremble. He thinks in relief, thank goodness, my scapegoat has returned. Now I will survive. This man is Chu Sifei, Chu Ling's elder brother. The scene shifts to chapter 2 and back to Louis. He cultivates with full concentration. We are told this is the first heaven, the weakest world, divided into many realms: prenatal, postnatal, Qi gathering, origin core, shattering, infant void, refining, and Tao integration. With past life experience, Louis cultivates for 15 days and reaches the 9th layer of Qi refining, then begins origin core formation. But suddenly he feels something wrong. His chest grows heavy, breathing falters, and he coughs blood. He mutters, What is happening? Only half of my Qi is helping core formation, the rest feels like stone. After analysis, the system announces celestial rigidity poison detected inside your body. Louis grits his teeth, realizing those women not only used the yin-yang goo but also planted this poison as insurance so he could never rise again. But his eyes turn cold and he says, "They don't know. I still have one trump card left." He asks the system for a method. The system replies that after breaking through to origin core and converting true chi into true essence, the poison will dissolve. Louis remembers that in the past he created a perfect return to origin pill which could force the breakthrough. But that pill was gifted to Yu Hangling in the previous life. His fists clench. In this life, nothing like that will happen. Suddenly movement appears in the sky. A giant crane announces that Yu Hangling has reached chi gathering perfection in just 1 month and 17 days, breaking the sect record. As a reward she receives a bottle of supreme-grade return to origin pills. Louis narrows his eyes with a dangerous smile. As expected from a future empress, her speed is terrifying. Even with the system, I am only 2 days ahead. Without wasting a second, he leaps down from the peak. The system asks, "Host, where are you going?" Louis answers calmly, "To the tomb of a void refining expert. I am going to reclaim the return to origin pill that rightfully belongs to me." After this, our scene changes. Now we are shown the inside of an ancient tomb located in the middle of a dense forest, about 500 kilometers away from Trade Dao. The air in this place feels heavy, and an eerie silence is spread in every direction. Walking through the depths of this same tomb, Yu Hangling has already arrived there. As she steps inside, she thinks to herself, "According to the memories of my previous life, people are going to discover this place only after 1 full month. That means, right now, I am completely alone here." Showing full confidence, Hangling enters a cave. She opens the door lying in front of her and begins to move forward through a narrow passage. While walking, only one thought circles inside her mind, that the most precious treasures of this place are hidden right here. She thinks that among these treasures is a fragment of the 9 lives and dying heavenly scripture, and along with it, a perfect return to origin pill. Moving ahead with fast steps, she finally reaches in front of those treasures. First, she picks up the 9 life heavenly scripture, and, smiling with great happiness, says, "Senior brother, this time I am 1 step ahead of you." But the moment she opens the scripture and looks inside, her eyes remain wide open in shock. In the very next second, her entire face turns pale. She falls into complete disbelief. We are shown that inside that scripture, written calmly and lovingly in Louis's handwriting, are the words, "Bitch, you are too late." And not only that, along with it, there are peacefully drawn golden sketches as well. Seeing all this, Hangling's voice begins to tremble. Stammering, she says, This. Suddenly, in furious anger, she throws the book onto the ground and screams, "Louis, you son of a bitch!" The moment the book hits the floor, dozens of yellow-colored golden laser lights activate inside the entire tomb and surround her from all sides. Seeing this, Hangling becomes completely terrified. Looking upward, she shouts loudly, "Louis! Let me get out of here!" But no matter how much she screams, there is no one there to hear her voice. The tomb remains utterly silent. After this, our scene changes once again. Now we are shown the scene 3 days later. We see Yu Hangling, filled with extreme anger, coming straight toward the MC's house. Without stopping, she barges inside and kicks the door open. The moment she enters, she yells, "You! Get your backside out here!" As we can see, her body is covered with many wounds and injuries. Scratches and marks are visible everywhere. Though it does not seem that the injuries are life-threatening, it is clear that she has suffered a lot in these 3 days. That is why she came here so angrily without thinking at all. By the way, in this series, most of the characters' names sound almost the same to me, so changing the name a little feels better. Her real name is Yu Hangling, but from now on we will call her the Angry Woman. And honestly, there could not be a more perfect name for her than this. This angry woman tries to break into the MC's house and, without taking a breath, starts shouting at him. But suddenly, an energy palm attack arrives and strikes directly on her stomach. A loud scream escapes from her mouth, and her body flies into the air and falls far away. Sliding across the ground, she crashes into the courtyard of the MC's house. Groaning in pain, she grinds her teeth and lets out cries of, "Ah!" Then, from the front, a calm yet cold voice comes. "Did your mother never teach you that before entering someone's house, you should knock on the door?" Hearing this, the angry woman is badly startled. Spitting fire in her mind, she thinks, "Louis, you are going too far now. I would rather die than bow before you." But all this she could only think inside her head. In reality, she could only chew her teeth and hair in rage. The truth was that at this moment she needed Louis, and when there is need, even pride has to be swallowed. That is why she somehow controls herself, stands up, and this time, knocking on the door politely, says, "Senior brother, please, can you open the door?" From inside, without any hesitation, a voice replies, "Get lost from here." Hearing this, the angry woman's blood boils even more. She starts banging the door loudly and shouts, "Did you take the perfect return to origin pill from inside that tomb?" But the answer to her question does not come in words. The door opens by itself, and at the same moment, several energy attacks rush out and hit her one after another. Due to the direct hits, her body is thrown away again. However, this time she somehow manages to maintain her balance. Taking a deep breath, she tries to calm herself and thinks, "Stay calm, don't get angry, keep it all inside." Then, grinding her teeth, she asks once more, "I am asking you for the last time. Did you take the perfect return to origin pill from that tomb?" From inside comes the same calm and merciless voice of the MC. "No. Now get lost from here." Hearing this, the angry woman completely loses her patience. Rage fills her eyes, energy bursts from her body, and activating her powers, she rushes straight to attack Louis. She screams, "You have the courage to take it, but not the courage to admit it. Louis, now I will fight you to the death." But just then, suddenly the MC's master appears in front of her. She releases her aura, and in that very moment all of Hunling's movements are locked in place. Her voice carries depth and pressure as she says, "Hangling, calm down." Hearing this, all of Hunling's anger vanishes as if blown away by wind. Her face changes, and in a trembling voice she says, "Master." The next second, she falls to her knees and starts crying bitterly like a child. She wails, "Master, he hit me." Sobbing, she exaggerates everything as if all the fault belongs to the other side. After hearing all this, her master slowly turns toward the MC and asks in a strict voice, "Louis, why did you raise your hand on your own junior sister?" Here one thing needs to be clarified. In the previous episode I had said that this master might have been the MC's wife in his previous life. But looking at the reactions and behavior so far, that does not seem clear at all. The story has not confirmed anything like that, and her expressions also do not indicate such a relationship. Yes, it does feel that as a master she knows that the MC had 9 lives before and now only 1 remains. Perhaps that is why she understands that the MC has returned to the past carrying all the anger of his previous lives. The rest of the truth we will know as the story moves forward. For now, let us continue the story. When his master asks this question, Louis opens his eyes and replies angrily, "She barged in without knocking. She has no manners at all." Hearing Louis's words, his master does not argue much. She calmly walks toward Hangling, helps her stand, and says in a gentle voice, "But still, after all, she is your junior sister. Let this matter end here." Then looking at Hangling, she asks, "By the way, why did you come to Louis today?" Hearing this, the angry woman points directly at the MC and says loudly, "He took the perfect return to origin pill. He has no use for it, so I wanted to trade something with him for it." Hearing her words, Louis's master turns to the MC and says in a softer tone, "Louis, your aptitude is exceptional. You absolutely do not need the perfect return to origin pill. Why don't you give it to your junior sister? If you need anything else, I can provide it to you." Even after such calm and reasonable persuasion, Louis's expression does not change at all. Sitting in the same attitude, he replies coldly, "Sorry, but I also need this perfect return to origin pill." Hearing this, Hangling flares up again and shouts, "What nonsense are you talking about, Louis? Do you really think that without this pill I cannot condense my origin core?" Due to her constant shouting, Louis's concentration breaks. He slowly gets down, puts his hand inside his sleeve, and takes out the same return to origin pill. Then he lets out a deep breath. Seeing this, his master's face brightens, and she happily says, "There we go. That's a good boy." She is about to praise him more when the atmosphere suddenly changes again. At that very moment, the MC gives a slight smile. With a "heh" sound, he throws the pill directly into his mouth and chews it in front of his master before swallowing it. Seeing this, his master is badly shocked. Her eyes widen and she says sternly, "Louis, why did you do this?" Your master is very disappointed. Before she can say anything further, the angry woman standing there explodes in rage. Grinding her teeth, she turns back and screams while leaving. "Louis, just wait. I will condense my secret core and take full revenge for this humiliation." Seeing her open hostility, the master's face becomes even heavier. Taking a deep breath, she says, "I know you still have a lot of anger inside you. But was it really necessary to go this extreme?" With this disappointed expression, the scene changes. Now we are shown the scene of the Sword Manor. Here the Sword Maiden is sitting comfortably while someone is feeding her with a spoon. Her mother, in a sweet and loving voice, says, "Your mother steamed this emerald rice congee with her own hands, only for you. Taste it and tell me if it is good." As soon as the Sword Maiden eats it, her face lights up. With happiness and emotion, she says, "Thank you, mother. In this whole world, only you treat me the best. I never want to leave your and father's side in this life." Hearing this, her mother smiles slightly and asks playfully, "Really? Even more than your birth parents?" The Sword Maiden replies with a smile, "They disappeared right after giving birth to me. How can they be compared with your treatment?" Hearing this, her mother laughs softly and says, "All right, that's enough. Now hurry and rest a little." The Sword Maiden gently replies, But her mother, inside her heart, is laughing in a strange way, a very relieved and eerie laughter. She thinks, "We are saved, we are finally saved. Now our entire family is safe." On the other side, the Sword Maiden suddenly begins to feel extremely sleepy. Her eyes grow heavy, and in a hesitant voice she asks, "Mother, why am I suddenly feeling so sleepy?" Then her mother slowly turns back with the same sweet yet cold voice and says, "If you feel sleepy, just sleep a little." The moment she says this, the Sword Maiden loses control over her body. Overwhelmed by drowsiness, she cannot even hold herself and collapses onto the bed. Holding her head in pain, she thinks, "Today everything feels so strange. Why am I feeling such strong sleepiness? This uncomfortable feeling has never happened before." Forcing herself, she releases her aura and commands internally, "Circulate Great Lotus Sword scripture. Tell me what is wrong with my body." But the moment she sees the result, her heart sinks. She trembles in shock. "Have I been poisoned? How is this possible? Could it be because of the emerald rice congee?" Just then, a knock comes at the door. A voice asks, "Have you already fallen asleep?" Confused and scared, she immediately lies down, pulls the blanket over herself, and pretends to be deeply asleep. The door slowly opens. Her mother enters with 3 other people. This time her voice holds no sweetness. In a cold, heavy tone she says, "Good. The poison has started working. Now we can begin our task." One of the 3 steps forward. It is none other than the Sword Maiden's own brother. Smiling at his mother, he says, "Mother, you are truly as impressive as people say. The older the ginger, the spicier the spice." Mother and son both stare at the Sword Maiden with deadly eyes. The mother says coldly, "Come, lift her and deliver her to our old ancestor." The brother laughs frighteningly. But they have no idea that the Sword Maiden is still conscious. She hears everything clearly. Every word pierces her heart like a knife. Hearing such horrifying things from her own mother and brother shatters her completely. Tears flow silently from her eyes. She cries inside, screams inside, but her body betrays her. At that moment she realizes, the home she believed was the safest place in the world has become the most dangerous cage of her life. We are shown that 2 servants were carrying the Sword Maiden and moving forward in one direction. And right behind them, the entire family of the Sword Maiden was also walking along. Just then, the Sword Maiden's father calls one of the servants and asks him, "Did you take care of Chuzi?" This Chuzi is the same guard who had stopped the Sword Maiden from entering at the beginning. The servant replies, "My lord, we have completely taken care of Chuzi and his family. Not a single survivor remains." Hearing about that servant, the main lord's eyebrows rise in irritation, and he says coldly, "Excellent. I never even imagined that a mere servant could ruin my grand design." Then, snorting angrily, he looks sideways at his son and says, "If she had not suddenly run back here to end her own life, you would have been the one offered in the sword's sacrifice. Your life was spared this time, so take this as a lesson. Stop wasting your days in alcohol and indulgence, and use your brain for once." But there is a saying, like father, like son. His son blows away all his father's expectations into thin air and, breathing in relief, says, "Yes, father, I was wrong. I promise from now on I will cultivate properly with full effort." These people had no idea that the Sword Maiden was hearing all their words clearly. Listening to them say that she had returned only to lose her life, she begins to cry bitterly inside. She realizes that she had been raised only to be used as a sacrifice for this very purpose. Then, from behind, her brother looks at her with drooling eyes and, with a dark expression, says, "Since she is going to die anyway, why don't I have a little fun with her first? I will only take half an hour." But instead of slapping him in anger, his father merely grabs his ear and pulls it hard while shouting, "What kind of filthy nonsense are you speaking? If nothing else, she is your sister in name. Don't throw the reputation of my Chu Sword Manor into the trash." Groaning in pain, the son replies, "Dad, it hurts. Besides, she is just the child of 2 dead slaves. Sharing a name does not make us blood relatives." Hearing this, the Sword Maiden receives another massive shock. Trembling inside, she thinks, "So you people murdered my biological parents as well?" Just then, the Sword Maiden's mother approaches her father with a smile and says, "Come on, she is going to die anyway. Why not let our son stay with her for 1 hour?" Her father looks at her sharply and replies, "Absolutely not. We cannot delay the old ancestor's sword refining even for a moment, or our entire family will face his wrath." Seeing even her so-called mother speaking such vile words, the Sword Maiden feels an unbearable rage rising inside her. She thinks, "I treated her like my own mother my entire life, and yet she can say such disgusting things about me." Regret floods her heart, and she whispers in her mind, "Louis, is this the truth you were trying to protect me from? Is this the reason you never allowed me to return home?" She begins to remember scenes from her past, scenes that once never felt painful but had now turned into poison. She recalls the days when she was training dangerously with Louis, training so harsh that many times her life was truly at risk. Covered in sweat, blood, and pain, she had begged him trembling, "Young master, I beg you, please let me go. I miss my parents so much." At that time Louis had looked at her and smiled slightly, but there was no humor in his eyes. Comforting her, he had said, "They are not even your biological parents, then why are you in such a hurry to go back?" Hearing this, the Sword Maiden had puffed her cheeks in anger, turned her face away stubbornly, and said, "They treat me better than even my birth parents ever would." Seeing her sulk like that, Louis had laughed softly and replied, all right. Just wait until I finish refining that sword. After that, I will personally take you back home." She had come close to him and said in a sweet voice, "Young master, what nonsense are you saying? What kind of sword takes so long to refine? You are definitely trying to coax me like a child to keep me here." Then the scene shifts. When the Sword Maiden finally reached Chu Sword Manor, the sight before her burned her entire world. The whole manor was engulfed in flames. Smoke everywhere, screams, the stench of burning wood. Her legs had given up, and she had collapsed on her knees crying, "Dad! Mom! I came too late." From that very moment, hatred for Louis had been born in her heart. She had sworn inside, "Louis, all this happened because of you. I will take revenge on you." But now, hearing and seeing the real truth, only regret remained inside her. Her heart was completely broken. She thought painfully, "Louis, the sword you were talking about was actually a demonic sword." With this thought, the scene changes again. At the same time, on the other side, RMC was watching this entire scene in HD quality with the help of the system. Every word, every sound, every intention was clear to him. The system says in a cold voice, "Host, it is truly a shame that she is unconscious right now and cannot hear the Chu family's words." Louis smiles lightly while watching all this. Laughing at the system's comment, he says, "How can a person who returned from the Great Emperor realm fall unconscious from a mere sleeping drug? Right now she is simply refusing to accept reality herself." The system asks, "Host, are you thinking of saving her?" Hearing this, Louis changes his position lazily, like a spectator in a theater, and says with a smile, "Save her? The satisfaction I get from seeing her suffer like this cannot be compared to anything else. After all, this is the return of an Emperor realm being. Now she does not need me to save her." The scene changes once more. Now we see everyone moving toward the sword forging grounds. The entire atmosphere is becoming heavy and terrifying. The Chu family reaches in front of a massive mansion. The sword maiden is laid on the ground, and the whole family kneels behind her. Her father greets the ancestor respectfully. A shadow appears in front of the mansion and slowly becomes clear. It is an old man, Chu Kaixing, the old ancestor of Chu Sword Manor. Hearing the greeting, he slowly opens his eyes and looks at the sword maiden lying before him. Observing her body with one glance, he says with cold satisfaction, "Excellent, now hand her over to me." He stands up and orders, "Chetian and Chef, you two stay here and witness the completion of this demonic sword ceremony." Hearing this, the father and brother bow and thank the ancestor. The old ancestor moves forward and lights a fire beneath a massive cauldron. Inside the cauldron, a sword floats in the air. At first glance no one could tell it was demonic, but the moment one feels its aura, it becomes clear that this is a terrifying and purely demonic existence. Staring at the sword greedily, the old ancestor laughs. "This demonic sword has consumed more than 30 years of my life blood. Now only the final step remains." The sword maiden's father congratulates him. "Once you refine this sword, you will directly ascend to the shattering infant realm." The old ancestor raises his hand and says, "Let us begin." Black fiery swords form in the air and move toward the demonic sword. The ritual begins. The demonic sword reacts, the entire area trembles, and the ancestor chants strange incantations. Then he commands coldly, "Sacrifice to this sword." At that moment, the sword maiden's father lifts her in his arms and walks forward, saying emotionlessly, "Today you serve as the sword sacrifice for our Chu clan. Raising you for so many years was not in vain." There is no regret in his voice, no hesitation, only cold utility. Without wasting a second, he throws the sword maiden directly into the blazing cauldron. She falls into the raging flames. The heat tears through the air, yet not a single scream leaves her mouth. Her brother watches with his tongue out and says disgustingly, "What a waste, such a tragic waste." But then something happens that no one had imagined. Despite falling into the fire cauldron, the sword maiden is smiling. There is no pain on her face, only a strange calm and cruelty. Suddenly she reacts, spits out blood, and that blood flies straight onto the demonic sword. The moment her blood touches it, terrifying flames erupt from the sword. The vibrations multiply, as if the sword has come alive. Seeing this, her father panics. What is happening?" And right before his eyes, the demonic sword disappears in a blur and appears directly in the sword maiden's hands. The sword's energy begins to support her. The flames no longer burn her, instead they lift her. She floats inside the cauldron and looks straight at the old ancestor, no pain in her eyes, only murderous intent. The old ancestor is shocked. Her brother screams, "Dad, she's not dead." The ancestor trembles. How is this possible? But before he can react, she rushes forward at full speed, aiming to pierce his chest in one strike. He hurriedly pulls out a green sword and shouts, "Damn it!" Yet the moment his sword collides with her demonic blade, it shatters instantly. His body is thrown back. He yells, "You cannot use such a demonic sword." Before he can finish, her blade moves like a venomous snake, and in the next second his head is separated from his body. Blood rains everywhere. Flicking the blood from her sword, she says coldly, Demonic swords are forged to slaughter demons. Her anger has reached its peak. Betrayal, regret, and rage have burned her heart completely. She had waited for her family for 2 lifetimes, trusted them with every breath, and this was the result. Now only hatred remained. Now the Sword Maiden begins to walk toward her own father, her entire body burning with rage. Her steps are heavy, but her intention is crystal clear. Seeing her approach, her father becomes so terrified that his legs start trembling uncontrollably. The color drains from his face. He immediately falls to his knees, stretching his shaking hands forward as he stammers. "Why you? Are you really Chu Ling?" No, you can't be Chu Ling." But Chu Ling is no longer in a state to listen to anyone. She has gone completely mad with fury. Killing intent pours out of her body, making the air itself feel heavy and suffocating. With a cold, expressionless face she stops right in front of him and, in a slow yet terrifying voice, asks, "Why? I treated all of you like my closest family. I trusted you with closed eyes. Then why did you do all this to me?" Her father doesn't even have the courage to answer her question. Trembling in fear, he blurts out, "Chu Ling, look how powerful you've become now. We don't need to sacrifice you for any sword anymore. Come, let's go home together. Everything will be fine." But Chu Ling has already seen his true face. She lets out a faint laugh, a laugh filled with both pain and hatred. Pulling out her sword, she says coldly, "You are not even worthy to take my name with that filthy mouth." Without a single moment of hesitation, she swings her blade. In one strike, her father's head flies into the air, blood spraying everywhere like a fountain. At that moment, Chu Ling looks exactly like a demon, ready to cut down anything that stands in her path without mercy. After that, she turns around. In front of her stands her so-called brother. The moment his eyes meet Chu Ling's, he is struck with terror. He steps back, his lips trembling. Looking at him with icy eyes, Chu Ling says, "Now as for you, you animal." Her brother immediately interrupts, dropping to his knees and banging his head on the ground repeatedly. Yes, I'm an animal. Just treat me like a dog and let me go. Please don't kill me." But in the blink of an eye, Chu Ling's sword moves again. His neck is severed instantly, and his body collapses to the ground. Chu Ling says without any emotion, "You are worse than a dog." At a distance, her mother, who still had no idea about the fate of her husband and son, becomes confused seeing the scene. All she can see is Chu Ling walking out of the sword forging grounds alone with a sword in her hand. Her steps are calm, her face emotionless, but behind her lies a tale of death and blood. Shocked, her mother walks forward and asks in confusion, "Chu Ling, how did you come out? And the others, where are they?" Chu Ling keeps walking without stopping, without even looking at her. As she passes beside her mother, she answers in a cold voice, "Who exactly are you talking about?" Her mother grows even more nervous and hurriedly says, "Your father, your brother, your family." Hearing this, Chu Ling suddenly stops. She slowly turns back. There is no anger in her eyes now, only an empty, chilling coldness. "I don't have any family anymore," she says. The next instant her sword flashes. With a single stroke, her mother's head is separated from her body. Blood scatters into the air, but this time there is no hatred or rage on Chu Ling's face, only a lifeless calm. In a flat voice she says, "Why don't you go and join them?" Without looking back even once, she walks ahead and declares coldly, "Every single person of the Chu family deserves to die." The scene changes. The entire Chu family territory is shown. A sword pierces violently into the ground. As the camera rises, we see that Chu Ling has slaughtered every single person of the clan. Old, young, servants, guards. No one survived. After such a long massacre, Chu Ling is completely exhausted. Her body is wounded, clothes torn, covered in blood and dust. She kneels on the ground using her sword for support, breathing heavily, hands trembling. All of this is being watched live by our MC through the system. Seeing the sight, Lewis nods slightly and says, "Not bad. She didn't leave a single soul alive in Chu Sword Manor. She didn't even spare the chickens." Stretching his hand lazily, he adds, "All right, close it now." He is just about to relax on his bed when the system asks, Host, won't you continue watching? A shattering infant realm expert is about to come and kill her. Lewis smiles faintly. What is there to see? She deserves all of this. The scene shifts back to Chu Ling. The manor is now nothing but ruins, corpses, and blood everywhere. Chu Ling falls to her knees, whispering in a broken voice. I was wrong, I was so wrong. Tears flow from her eyes, her body shaking in pain. She has no strength left to fight. From a distance someone approaches, the shattering infant realm expert, Reverend Li Jian. The moment he sees Chu Ling and the demonic sword in her hand, greed shines in his eyes. This demonic sword, it's actually complete. Laughing, he pulls out his blade and shouts, That sword only brings you pain. Let me free you from it. He attacks at full speed, but Chu Ling barely tilts her sword, offering almost no resistance, as if she has already accepted death. Yet Li Jian suddenly stops his blade near her neck, noticing she hasn't reacted at all. No fear, no hope, nothing. He laughs madly. Just as I thought, she has completely lost her mind. But at that very moment Chu Ling moves. With a single block she releases an overwhelming force that blasts Li Jian away, tearing his clothes and throwing him to the ground. Stunned, he mutters, She's only at Origin Core Realm. How can she have such terrifying sword skills? Chu Ling stands there lifelessly, as if emotions have abandoned her. Li Jian stares greedily. This girl hides a huge secret. The sword isn't the only treasure here. Suddenly Chu Ling turns and begins running away. Li Jian is shocked. What? She wasn't reacting at all just now. He chases after her, shouting obscenely. Don't run! Be a good girl and come to Li Jian. Chu Ling keeps running despite her injuries, blood dripping with every step. Her lips tremble as she repeats, I was wrong. I must repent. I must repent. Her mind seems broken, clinging only to guilt and regret. The scene shifts to Lewis. Outside, the furious woman Hang Ling is banging on his door, screaming accusations. Lewis sits calmly in meditation. The system asks, Host, she is insulting you so badly. Will you just listen? Without opening his eyes, Lewis replies, Block my ears. I must focus on cultivation. Nothing will stop me from achieving sagehood. Later, Hang Ling's master arrives and scolds her, revealing how Lewis refined every treasure for her countless times. Hearing this, Hang Ling is shaken, but still refuses to apologize. Her master angrily sends her to the back mountain to reflect. Finally, the scene changes again. Barefoot and wounded, Chu Ling climbs the stairs toward Lewis's mountain, leaning on her demonic sword. There is no hatred left in her eyes, only exhaustion and regret. Looking toward Lewis's courtyard, she whispers softly, Great Tao. She stands there trembling, breathing heavily, staring at the place as if realizing for the first time everything she has lost in her life. At that moment, someone noticed Chu Ling standing there and cried out in shock. Who goes there? Before anyone could react, Chu Ling's strength gave out. She collapsed to the ground and fainted. Yet, just before losing consciousness, she murmured weakly, Bailon Peak. Lu Yi. I am Ling. The female disciple rushed toward her in alarm, but a sharp voice suddenly stopped her. Stay your hand, fellow Taoist. When the female disciple looked up, she saw Li Jian descending from above. He landed gracefully and said, Fellow Taoist, I have hunted this vile creature to this very spot. I mean no disrespect to the majesty of the great Tao sect. I shall remove this trash immediately. Li Jian stretched out his hand toward Chu Ling, but the female disciple instantly drew her sword and blocked his path. Not so fast. Since she invoked the name of one of my sect members, I intend to return and verify it. If he claims not to know her, only then may you take her away. She turned to another disciple and ordered, Keep a close watch. Do not let him take her before I return. The disciple nodded. Understood. At Bailon Peak, the female disciple stood outside Lu Ye's room and called out loudly, Junior brother Lu Yi! A woman claiming to be Chu Ling has collapsed outside the mountain gate. She is being hunted and is gravely injured. Do you know her? From inside, Lu Yi asked coldly. Who? the disciple replied. Chu Ling. After a brief silence, Lu Yi answered in an icy tone. I don't know her. The female disciple responded. Since junior brother does not recognize her, we shall not intervene. Lu Yi repeated firmly. I said I don't know her. Understood. Farewell, she said before leaving. Inside, the system asked Lu Yi, Does Master truly intend to leave her to die? Lu Yi replied calmly. Have you forgotten how she treated me in my past life? Besides, she isn't going to die. Outside the gate, the female disciple returned to Li Jian and informed him. I have verified the matter. My sex disciple does not know her. You may take her away. Li Jian sneered. Just as I thought. The great Tao sect is a pillar of the righteous path. How could it possibly associate with a demoness like her? He stepped closer to Chu Ling and said, I shall remove her at once, lest she sully your noble grounds. But just as his hand was about to touch her, an invisible force struck, freezing his arm solid. Li Jian roared, Who dares? A powerful figure appeared. It was Bai Qiulan, her expression cold with anger. Stay your hand! The surrounding disciples immediately dropped to their knees. Greetings, Marshal and Bai Qiulan declared firmly. You cannot take her away. Li Jian clenched his fists in fury. The magnificent great Tao sect, reneging on its word? That is hardly the conduct of a righteous faction. The female disciple flared up and pointed her sword at him. Impudent! Do you wish to find out just how sharp the great Tao sect's swords are? Li Jian drew his own blade with a cold laugh. My sword is none too dull either. The female disciple prepared to strike. In that case, but before she could move, Bai Qiulan attacked from behind, instantly freezing Li Jian's entire body. She said in an indifferent tone, Dispose of the corpse. I will take this woman back to the sect. Bai Qiulan carried Chu Ling to another residence, and urgently said to her senior sister, Senior sister, please save Chu Ling. She laid Chu Ling onto the bed. The girl looked terribly wounded. The senior sister examined her and began to heal her while murmuring, How could she be injured this badly? Bai Qiulan sighed. She was practically a corpse. What sheer force of will kept her clinging to life until now? The senior sister gave a confident thumbs up. Fear not. So long as a spark of life remains, I can bring her back. Bai Qiulan bowed slightly. I am in your debt. After some time, Chu Ling finally regained consciousness. The moment she opened her eyes, she whispered instinctively, Young master. Seeing her awake, Bai Qiulan hurried to her side. Linger, you're awake. Chu Ling looked around in confusion. Sister Bai? Where is the young master? The senior sister silently observed from the side, thinking, Sister? A lowly servant girl dares to call Qiulan sister? Bai Qiulan answered gently. Lu Yi is still in secluded cultivation. He has not yet emerged. Chu Ling said anxiously. Then, was it the young master who asked Sister Bai to save me? Many thanks, Sister Bai, but I must go find him. Bai Qiulan shook her head. There is no rush. Focus on healing your wounds first. By the time you have fully recovered, perhaps he will have finished his seclusion. Chu Ling lowered her gaze. I must apologize to the young master. I misunderstood him all this time. It turns out he wasn't trying to force himself on me. He was protecting me. Sister Bai, perhaps we have all misunderstood him. The senior sister, still listening quietly, felt her mind explode. Force himself? We? Good heavens, did I just stumble upon some massive scandal? She stared at the two of them in shock. Just then, Bai Qiulan glanced in her direction. The senior sister immediately turned her face away, pretending innocence. Bai Qiulan walked over and said politely, Senior sister, could I trouble you to step out for a moment? I have some things to discuss with Linger. The senior sister waved her hand. All right, I'm leaving right now. You two chat to your heart's content. After she stepped outside, Bai Qiulan turned back to Chu Ling. Linger, from now on, do not call me Sister Bai. You may address me as Senior Bai. Back when the chaosine poison flared within me, Lu Yi only resorted to that unavoidable act to save my life. Outside the door, the senior sister had not actually left. She pressed her ear against the wall and gasped. What do you mean by unavoidable act? But Bai Qiulan noticed her eavesdropping and immediately used her power to place a sound barrier around the room. The senior sister blinked in confusion. Eh? Huh? Why can't I hear anything now? Damn it. Just what kind of earth-shattering scandal was that? To think she'd actually block me out. Chapter 7 opens at midday on Bailing Peak. The sun hangs high in the sky, shining brightly over the mountain. At this moment, Louis's seclusion cultivation finally comes to an end. He slowly opens his eyes and stands up from the cultivation mat. Yawning lazily, he stretches his body and walks forward. After all, he hasn't slept properly for many days. The scene shifts to outside Louis's residence. A young woman is kneeling there on the cold ground. It is Chu Ling. She sits upright on her knees, unmoving, her expression calm yet stubborn. It is clear she has been sitting here for a very long time. Inside Louis's mind, his system reacts. The system informs him that she has been waiting outside for an unusually long period and asks whether he wants to go out and check on her. Louis's face shows no emotion at all. He replies coldly that there is no need. He says he has not forgotten what she did to him in his previous life. The moment Chu Ling comes to his mind, a single image flashes before his eyes. Her face. That cruel, evil smile. The smile she wore when he was dying. Louis clenches his fist slightly. He thinks that anyone who can betray once can betray again. Women, in his eyes, only slow down cultivation. In this life, cultivation is the only thing that matters to him. Nothing else is important. Outside the house, Chu Ling continues kneeling. Her legs are numb, her body exhausted, yet she does not move. Inside her heart, she speaks silently. She believes in young master. She believes that if she endures sincerely and keeps waiting, one day he will forgive her. Her resolve does not waver. The scene changes. Now we arrive at Crimson Cloud Peak. Within the territory of the Great Tao sect, there exist 9 main peaks and 72 minor peaks. Bailing Peak and Crimson Cloud Peak are both among them. At the top of Crimson Cloud Peak, a young woman filled with anger is practicing her short training routine. Her movements are elegant, dignified, and extremely graceful. Each motion flows smoothly, like water. At first glance, it almost looks as if she is dancing rather than training. With every step and turn, even the surrounding wind seems to follow her movements, swirling gently around her body. Whether these movements contain true killing power or not is unclear. She looks beautiful, majestic, yet dangerous. She is not alone. From behind a large rock, someone is secretly watching her. It seems she has unknowingly gained herself a stalker. A shy-looking young man. His name is Ling Wushang. Most people simply call him Ling. Ling is completely mesmerized. He watches her movements without blinking, his mind utterly captivated. Somehow, even her anger appears beautiful to him. Just as he is about to think further, a sharp sound cuts through the air. A flying sword suddenly shoots toward his hiding place and slams directly into the rock in front of him. Ling gasps in shock, letting out an involuntary sound. The young woman stops her movements and speaks calmly, her tone unusually composed. She asks who is hiding there. Ling hesitates for a moment, then steps out from behind the rock. At the same time, the woman leaps forward with a light movement and lands right in front of him. Ling hurriedly brings his fists together and greets her. He introduces himself as Ling Wushang, addressing her as junior sister Hang Ling. He explains that he is the newly inducted head disciple of Crimson Cloud Peak. Even though Hang Ling's face looks irritated and sharp, in Ling's eyes, she looks unbelievably beautiful. Hang Ling speaks again, her voice surprisingly soft. She says she knows his name. Inside her mind, memories surface. She recalls hearing this name long ago. When senior brother Louis refused the position of Holy Son of the Great Tao sect, this man inherited that role. In the future, he ascended all the way to the 8 heavens. And in the end, he died while fighting within the dark turmoil. In her heart, she acknowledges that he should be counted as a true hero. Ling remains in his greeting posture, smiling awkwardly. He says he just witnessed the technique she was practicing and praises it as magnificent. He asks whether he can receive some guidance from her. Hang Ling lets out a light laugh and takes a deep breath. With an air of absolute superiority, she tells him that he is no match for her. That single word stirs something inside Ling. His expression turns serious. He draws his sword and says that even though she is younger than him, she speaks with far too much arrogance. He adds that whether or not he is her match can only be determined after they try. In the next instant, Hang Ling activates her movement technique and appears extremely close to his face. Smiling faintly, she suggests something else. She tells him to go and challenge Lewis first. If he manages to defeat Lewis, then he can come back and spar with her. That sudden closeness completely flusters Ling. He retreats hastily, his face reddening. He asks who Lewis is and says he has no grudge against him. He does not understand why he should challenge someone he has no enmity with. At least, this shows that Ling is not thinking entirely with impulse. He still has some reason. Seeing this, Hang Ling relaxes slightly. She exhales deeply and sits down on a nearby tree branch. She explains that Lewis is the reason her master punished her and sent her into solar tree confinement on Crimson Cloud Peak. Ling steps closer, lowering his voice. He asks her to explain exactly what Lewis did. Hang Ling closes her eyes. She agrees to tell him how everything began. She says it all started on the day she kicked down Lewis's door. The story continues. The details are not shown clearly, but by the time she finishes telling her one-sided version of events, an entire hour has passed. 1 hour later, Ling's expression is twisted with anger. He explodes in rage, saying the story is outrageous and disgusting. Just hearing it makes his blood boil. He questions how someone like Lewis could even be worthy of being called her senior brother. Ling stands up abruptly and begins to walk away in fury. He tells Hang Ling to wait right there. He declares that he will go take revenge on her behalf. First, he will defeat Lewis. Then, he will force him to apologize to her. Hearing this, Hang Ling becomes anxious. She hesitates and tries to stop him, saying that he truly cannot defeat Lewis. But Ling does not stop. He shouts that he has already made his decision. If he does not teach Lewis a proper lesson today, then he is not worthy of being called the head disciple. The scene shifts back to Lewis. He truly has become a cultivation fanatic. He had just finished cultivating once, and now he is already sitting down again. Just as he begins to focus, he senses someone entering his courtyard. He opens his eyes and asks who is outside. A firm male voice answers with a name. Ling Wushang. Hearing that name, a memory surfaces in Lewis's mind. An arena. A fierce battle. Logically speaking, their first meeting should have happened during the All-Sect Disciple Tournament. Lewis remembers clearly that he was the champion, while Ling was the runner-up. Lewis walks over and opens the door. He confirms Ling's identity and politely asks why senior brother Ling has come to Crimson Cloud Peak today. Ling is surprised. He asks whether Lewis knows him. Lewis responds calmly that he does. He praises Ling, saying his name even appears in stories. He accurately states that Ling entered the sect 2 months and 12 days ago, and condensed the heavenly core on the very first day. He calls it admirable. Hearing this, Ling's chest unconsciously straightens. He says that Lewis's eyes are unexpectedly sharp, then corrects him slightly, explaining that it has only been 2 months and 11 days. The first day was wasted on entry procedures. Lewis nods eagerly and continues praising him, calling his talent formidable and saying he is extremely valuable to the Great Tao sect. Suddenly, Ling snaps back to reality. He points at Lewis angrily and demands that he wipe that smile off his face. He accuses Lewis of trying to fool him. He declares that he has come here to issue a challenge. The atmosphere instantly turns silent. Lewis's smile deepens slightly. He accepts the challenge without hesitation, saying he has been bored for a long time anyway. Both of them step outside. Ling immediately draws his sword and rushes forward. He declares that he will not hold back and tells Lewis to prepare himself. A dangerous slash flashes through the air. Lewis calmly steps aside and blocks the sword with just 2 fingers. Ling's eyes widen in shock. Lewis releases a faint aura, gathering power into his fist as he charges forward. He apologizes calmly for the offense. Ling grits his teeth and tries to block with his sword, sensing danger. But before he can react, Lewis disappears. In the next moment, Lewis appears behind him and delivers a powerful kick to his back. Ling cries out as his body flies forward, crashing face first several steps away. No lethal weapon. No aura release. Yet the humiliation is complete. Lewis looks down at him calmly, and says that this should be enough. But Ling is stubborn. He stands up again, rage burning in his eyes. He demands one more round. This time, he draws his sword with full seriousness. He activates the Crimson Cloud sword art. Taking a proper fighting stance, he prepares for a real battle. Ling attacks Lewis once again. In his mind, Ling is certain of one thing. This time, Lewis will not be able to dodge. But that thought is nothing more than an illusion. In the very next movement, Lewis passes straight by Ling's side. Effortlessly. Casually. The attack misses completely. Ling's eyes widen in disbelief. He cannot accept what just happened. His breathing becomes uneven, a trace of panic appearing on his face. Before he can even react, Lewis's fist is already rushing toward him. Lewis speaks calmly. Look carefully. I will only demonstrate this once. Lewis's arm shoots forward like lightning. In an instant, his hand clamps onto Ling's collar. Ling's pupils shrink. He blurts out instinctively that Lewis is far too fast. But before his words can finish, Lewis grabs him by the collar and spins violently, throwing him away like a rag doll. At the same time, a crimson-red aura bursts out from Lewis's body. On the other side, Ling stabs his sword into the ground. His feet scrape across the surface as he slides backward, barely managing to stabilize himself. Lewis then stands upright, calm and dominant, like a true Sigma male. He looks at Ling and asks casually how was that, and whether he still wants to continue. Ling is clearly shaken now. Sweat drips down his face. His voice trembles slightly as he admits that in terms of skill, he is inferior, but his comprehension ability is strong. Lewis tilts his head slightly. Oh? What does senior brother mean? Ling suddenly launches another attack. He shouts that he has already comprehended the second form of the Qixia sword art. His sword slashes forward, tearing through the ground as the attack surges toward Lewis at terrifying speed. Cracks spread across the earth. Dust flies everywhere. Yet Lewis remains standing calmly. He simply watches the attack approach. Then, in a serious tone, he speaks. Senior brother indeed has good perception. In the next moment, Lewis swings his hand like a blade. His palm cuts through the air. The incoming sword attack is shattered instantly. Completely destroyed. Seeing his strongest move erased so casually, Ling is utterly shocked. Cold sweat pours from his body. His eyes remain wide open. He cannot say a single word. Lewis lowers his head slightly. He extends his hand forward in greeting and asks whether they can end it here. Ling takes a deep breath. He bows his head and returns the greeting. He admits his defeat. He acknowledges that Lewis is far stronger, and says that Lewis's future achievements will inevitably surpass his own. Lewis smiles faintly. He tells Ling not to worry. In the future, if anyone asks, he will say that he fought senior brother for 10 rounds and barely achieved a narrow victory. Hearing this, Ling laughs loudly. He praises Lewis as a good person and says he will remember him. He then turns around to leave, bidding farewell and saying they will meet again. Just as Ling is walking away, Chu Ling suddenly runs over in a hurry. She is here to see Lewis. She calls out happily, saying that senior brother has finally come out. Ling turns his head toward her. Inside his mind, a thought appears. Are there really so many beauties on Bailing Peak? Lewis, however, has no intention of meeting Chu Ling. Without hesitation, he shuts his door. The sound echoes in the courtyard. Chu Ling freezes on the spot. She stands there silently, completely stunned. Slowly, she kneels down again. Her face is filled with sadness. She asks softly why senior brother closed the door again. Ling walks over and speaks to her. He tells her that a woman's dignity is precious. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Since Lewis is unwilling to see her, Why should she cling to a single tree? Chu Ling's regret deepens. Her eyes redden as she begs softly, asking whether senior brother cannot just open the door and look at Ling at once. Ling tries to ignore the situation. He turns around and walks away. Letting out a deep sigh, he thinks to himself that it is a pity. She is pretty, but unfortunately blind. He, Ling Wushang, is so dashing and handsome, yet she actually turns a blind eye to him. The scene shifts. Back on Crimson Cloud Peak. The angry young woman is still practicing her sword. Ling arrives. He tells Hang Ling that he lost. Hearing this, Hang Ling looks at him and smiles faintly. She says she already told him that he could not defeat Lewis. Ling sits down on a piece of wood. He admits that Lewis is actually quite a decent person and not as terrible as she described. Hang Ling places both hands on her waist and snorts. She says that Lewis treats men well enough, but with women, that is not necessarily true. Ling raises an eyebrow and asks whether she understands Lewis that well. He mentions that he just saw a young maiden kneeling before Lewis's door, yet Lewis kept the door shut and refused to come out. Hang Ling is startled. A maiden? She asks what she looked like and what her name was. Ling replies that she was very pretty. He recalls hearing her call herself Ling or something similar. Hang Ling's heart trembles. Chu Ling. She actually came back. Her thoughts become chaotic. She wonders how this should be handled. She tells herself not to be jealous. Why would she be jealous? That would be ridiculous. How could she possibly be jealous over Lu Yi? At the same time, Ling's expression darkens. A terrifying realization hits him. No way. Is she also Lu Yi's woman? Then don't blame him for not knowing how to cherish jade and pity fragrance. Ling suddenly stands up. He challenges Hang Ling. He says that he has already fulfilled his promise to challenge Lu Yi, so now she must spar with him. Hang Ling hesitates. She points out that he did not defeat Lu Yi. Ling does not care. He says that he went to challenge Lu Yi for her sake, so she must take responsibility. Hang Ling stares at him for a moment. Then she accepts. She says it is time to make him give up on this foolish heart of his. Her eyes turn red with anger. She charges forward first. She declares that she will not hold back like Lu Yi did. A violent explosion erupts on the mountain. Shockwaves spread across the peak. Ling desperately tells her to be gentle. But Hang Ling does not listen at all. Half an hour later. Ling's condition is miserable. His face is swollen. His cheeks are bruised. He has been beaten so badly that he can barely stand. Hang Ling looks down at him coldly. She tells him not to come disturb her cultivation again in the future, and orders him to leave. Ling cries as he staggers away. He shouts in despair, asking whether everyone on Bailing Peak is a monster. Why is one more ruthless than the other? He swears that he will definitely come back one day. Hang Ling frowns. Her thoughts return to Chu Ling. Why did Chu Ling come back? She decides that she must go take a look. Confinement? Who cares about confinement? Meanwhile, back at Bailing Peak. Chu Ling is still kneeling outside Lewis's room. Her body is trembling. Her regret is overwhelming. She keeps apologizing softly, saying it was Linger's fault and that Linger was wrong. Her voice grows weaker. Due to hunger and thirst, her strength finally gives out. She collapses against the doorframe. The impact causes the door to open. Chu Ling looks inside anxiously and calls out to her senior brother. But when she looks into the room, it is empty. Her heart sinks. Her face turns pale as she whispers in shock. Senior brother is missing. The chapter begins with Hong Ling arriving to meet Chu Ling. Chu Ling is slightly surprised when she sees Hong Ling standing there. Hong Ling speaks in a very harsh tone and says, Lu Yi has already left. So why are you still kneeling here? He is not coming back. But Chu Ling is drowning in guilt. Tears of regret continuously fall from her eyes. She turns toward Hong Ling and says, Even if the young master is not in the sect right now, I will continue kneeling here until the day he returns. Hong Ling becomes angry. She grabs Chu Ling's hand and tries to pull her up, saying, You should stop kneeling and stand up. We are female cultivators. We have dignity too. Why are you humiliating yourself like this? But Chuling shakes off Hongling's hand and cries, "Sister Hongling, I was wrong. I made a huge mistake. I poisoned the young master. This punishment is what I deserve." Just then, Master Bai arrives. As soon as she comes, she speaks gently to Chuling. "What happened is already in the past. From now on, we should start anew. You shouldn't keep blaming yourself." But Chuling still cannot let go of the past. She firmly shakes her head and says, "A heavenly rigidity poison can never be completely cleared. A part of it will remain inside his body forever. Curing it is extremely difficult." When Hongling and Master Bai hear this, both of them are shocked. Hongling asks in disbelief, "You mean, the heavenly poison is still inside Lu Ye's body? And it will remain there permanently?" She is confused. Master Bai then speaks again, mentioning the perfect returning origin pill. The moment Chuling hears about that pill, her regret deepens even further. More tears fall from her eyes as she says, "So that means Lu Yi didn't intentionally take the perfect returning origin pill. It was because the heavenly rigidity poison flared up and consumed its power." Hearing this, Hongling's eyes also fill with tears. She lowers her head and apologizes softly. "Senior brother, I'm sorry." Master Bai sighs deeply and says, "How wrong we all were about Lu Yi. But where exactly are you now?" Scene shift. The scene shifts to the back mountains of the great Taoist sect. There, Lu Yi is cultivating calmly and peacefully. His mind is focused only on self-improvement, not on women. This time, he will not make the same mistakes again. His only focus is cultivation. Through the system, Lu Yi is monitoring the 3 female leads. The system says, "Master, they are all waiting for you to return." Lu Yi replies coldly, "Let them be. It's quiet here. I'll cultivate here. I've figured it out now. Women, one after another, are all stumbling blocks on my path to the Tao. Our main character is finally on the right path. Straightforward. No distractions." But the system is restless and asks, "How long does Master plan to stay here?" Lu Yi ignores it. Golden energy bursts out from his body as he smiles and says, "Before the December disciple competition starts, I will reach the 13th layer of the Origin Core Realm and gain qualification to enter the Great Tao Treasure Pavilion." 3 months later. 3 months pass. The disciple competition is about to begin. Numerous disciples fly toward the arena on their swords. Someone announces, "The Order Peak Master of all peaks leads the 92nd generation disciples to gather at the Great Tao Terrace." Lu Yi also flies toward Balan Peak, his face filled with confidence. But suddenly, he stops. His eyes land on 3 figures. They are none other than Hongling, Chuling, and Master Bai. Lu Yi falls silent. At that moment, Chuling turns around. Her eyes meet Lu Ye's. "Young master!" she calls out. Lu Yi gives no response. Suddenly, Hongling runs toward him and apologizes. "Senior brother, I'm sorry." Chuling also rushes over, trying to apologize. Master Bai calls out, asking Lu Yi to stop. The commotion draws everyone's attention. The disciples whisper in shock. "What is going on? 2 stunning beauties are apologizing to one man at the same time?" The chatter irritates Lu Yi. His expression turns cold as he says firmly, "Get lost." The disciples are completely stunned. He actually told 3 goddesses to get lost? Lu Yi looks like a total badass. Hongling clenches her fists, furious. She turns around and says, "If you want me gone, then fine. I'll get lost." She leaves. Master Bai also turns away, clearly upset. "I'm tired. That's why I'm leaving." She cannot believe how bold Lu Yi has become. Only Chuling remains. She steps forward and says softly, "Young master." But before she can finish, a group of disciples kneel before Lu Yi, bowing deeply. "Hero! A model for our generation! Please accept our bow!" They finally understand. Ignore women, move forward, cultivate hard. Suddenly, a powerful voice echoes. "Everyone take your places." All disciples move toward the arena. Another announcement follows. "Next, please welcome the Vice Sect Master." An old man enters the arena. half-bald, wearing round glasses, full of authority. He begins his long speech about the Tao. Lu Yi yawns lazily and mutters, "Even the bureaucratic tone is exactly the same as my past life. I should have arrived later." Finally, the vice sect master announces, "The competition follows a single elimination format. Go all out. Do not be cowardly. I declare the 90-second disciple competition officially begun." Battles begin. A beautiful girl steps into the arena. Several disciples stare shamelessly at her legs. But Lu Yi doesn't even look. Hongling notices this and feels conflicted. The battles begin. Hongling defeats her opponent with a single kick, sending him flying off the stage. The vice sect master announces her victory. Next, Chuling's turn. Before stepping onto the stage, she approaches Lu Yi and says, "Young master, I have joined the great Tao sect." Tears of regret still fill her eyes. She steps onto the stage while still looking at Lu Yi. The disciples praise her beauty. Her opponent mocks her. "Junior sister, you've already humiliated yourself enough. Why keep throwing yourself at him?" Chuling's expression hardens. She replies firmly, "Thank you for your concern, senior sister. For me, the young master is an existence more important than the Tao itself." The opponent explodes in anger. "Nonsense! I'll beat you until you wake up!" And with that, the chapter ends. If you want the next chapter, the video will be coming soon. Till then, like, subscribe, and drop a lovely comment. See you in the next video. Bye.